Let's see if it's going to connect here. Let's see. Yep, we are connected. I want to thank everybody for coming in. This is Ed over here from Roll2Win channel. And I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to get signed in. Hope everybody had a great and safe weekend, Memorial Day weekend. It's kind of hard to say happy Memorial Day because it reflects on all those veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice of their lives just so that we have the opportunity to live a free life. And so we should always be aware and thankful for those guys and gals who gave their lives and sacrificed for us. I know we've got some veteran families here on camera with us. We're going to have Jeff, we're going to have Gargoyle, we're going to have Oz. Oz had family in World War II, I believe, that gave up their life. Gave up their life. So as we kick it off, I'm going to start us out with a little Brownwater Bash song. And then we'll get to your comments, try to recognize people, and we'll get on to this recap. But let's get this little Brownwater Bash with some of the pictures going right now.
Rolling down to Biloxi, where the river meets the coast. Dice in my hand, yeah, this town I love the most. Whiskey's flowing, folks are smiling, tales getting bold. At the Brownwater Bash, the shooters roll gold. Raise your glass, let the good times last. Roll2Win's in town, we're having a blast. It's not just luck, it's a practiced art. Practice like you play, play like you practice from the heart. Craps tables calling, it's a southern drawl beat. Dice set tight, rhythm steady and sweet. Backlines watching, cheers fill the air. With every heartache, you feel the flare. Raise your glass, let the good times last. Roll2Win's in town, we're having a blast. It's not just luck, it's a practiced art. Practice like you play, play like you practice from the heart. From hard rock to palace lights, Brownwater spirits and long hot nights. Brotherhood strong, no need to rush. Just a paradise and a gambler's hush. Raise your glass, let the good times last. Roll2Win's in town, we're having a blast. It's not just luck, it's a practiced art. Practice like you play, play like you practice from the heart. Yeah, we roll in style with heart and class, down at the Brownwater Bash.
All right. Here are our four guests. Boom. I put them all on the screen at the same time. Jeff, way over there on Mid-Atlantic Craps, Gargoyle, and to my immediate stage right is the one and only infamous Mr. Oz. How are we doing tonight, gentlemen?
Who wants to go first?
Yeah.
Jeff, go ahead. We'll go from left screen to right screen. Jeff, how you doing tonight?
All right, I'm doing fine, Ed. Great song there. A lot of pictures I'll probably show as repeat, but I'm doing wonderful. Had a wonderful time. I'd like to thank you and Oz for putting this on. I know Oz had a lot to do with something that you didn't say was going to happen previous to the event, but that did happen. And Oz, I thank you very much for the invitation. It made my weekend. Let's just say that.
Wasn't that fun?
It was absolutely fantastic.
We had a great time. I know we all came in. Well, all three. I came in before you two, and then y'all came in the next day, and then Oz came in on Friday morning.
Yep.
Right.
So we had a lot of brown water bass time.
Yep.
And for some reason, I can't pull my chats over, but I know we got a lot of folks in house, and I can't. I mean, we got 52 ladies or gentlemen.
Yep.
We got 52 sitting
Oh,
here.
Yeah. I'm watching the chat.
Is that the
Ed.
B-52s?
So, Gargoyle, how you doing? Tell us what you're up to.
I'm doing good. Just enjoying some time off. I know a lot of people have said it before, but I appreciate all the veterans that gave the ultimate sacrifice so that we can have the freedom to do this. I know I'm the foreigner of the group, but I'm still live here in the United States. I'm a United States citizen, and I appreciate everything that was done before I got here, while I'm here, and the future folks that are, sacrificing for our freedom. Having fun, glad to be here with you, and man, I'm still on a high from the bash. I don't even drink, and I'm on a high. So, I don't know what to tell you. I can't wait to go back.
It was a great time.
Yeah.
Oz, what's your opening words for us tonight?
Well, I can tell you, just trying to get back into the swing of things. Like, sometimes you go on this much anticipated vacation and you come back and there's this huge letdown. Well, I've dealt with that for the last week, right? Because I so enjoyed being down there, not just with the people here on the panel, but everybody else that was there. It's the craps community is such a cool place to be. It's just fun to be around, and some of the best people that you'll meet in your entire life. And being a church boy like I am, right? No, not really, but being told, man, gambling's bad. I tell you, I've met some of the best people that I've ever met in my entire life, standing around a craps table and at these events. So a lot of fun.
You are correct, sir. We have met great people. I've met so many great people over the years, and most of them have become friends, unless I offend them in some way with my open vernacular. But yeah, I was getting text messages today, and I said, "Oh, you're an ambulance chaser," and then he come back with this long diatribe. I said, "Oh, not only are you an ambulance chaser, you're also a chicken feeder. I understand it." So I have a way of putting the words out there. Anyway, so I drove in. I didn't fly. I drove in on Wednesday afternoon, night, stayed at the IP for the first night, and then moved over to the Command Central at Hard Rock. And there were already people there on Tuesday. We had Sweet Lou, who's out there had come in on Tuesday, and Judge Three Putt was already in. He and his wife were in. So I played a little craps and got drunk and played roulette. So had a good time. Just sitting there at the IP playing $5 roulette, drinking their bourbon, getting ready for the brown water bash, as it were. But Jeff, start us out a little bit with you came in on Wednesday, correct?
I came in Thursday morning about
Thursday.
about 3 hours after G did. G came in, and then he came to the airport with Lou. Lou and G picked me up, and we came back to the Hard Rock. And ironically, G and my room was ready, and other people's rooms were not. We're not mentioning anybody that's on the screen with us, but somebody's room wasn't ready. But we were able to get into our rooms, and I guess the Friday sessions. I don't know how we're going to tackle the playing throughout the various days, but I'll just say that the morning play was not good to me. The crapless play was fantastic to me, and as you know, I'm not a very big fan of crapless. And the private table, if I'm allowed to say that now, was fantastic. And I mean, I just had an overall good time. We started out with a good lunch with you, and got a picture of that coming up here in a little bit with you and Lou, and I think it was Rick, and was Oz there for lunch? That's not when you had that pound and a half of, I mean, the 2 pounds of ribs, was it, Ed? Is that when you had that?
That was the next day.
Okay, that was the next day. Yeah, we had a good lunch and we had a fantastic dinner that night. Play afterwards was mediocre till I didn't play on the crapsless table Friday night, but I did Saturday and Sunday, and man, it was just I mean, it was just a fantastic time. I don't know how you want to go about talking with what we did and how we did it. I mean, as far as wins and losses and so forth.
I don't know. I mean, I came out positive. I think y'all probably came out positive.
Yeah.
I did.
Everybody at different degrees, so we didn't always play together at the same times. A lot of people ran off to different casinos. Obviously, there's too many. Hard Rock treated us great, though. They had 2 12-foot tables open all day long because we had so many people in there, and they don't normally do that. And yeah, go ahead.
No, there was several times during the daytime. It had nothing to do with your event that we had filled the table, at least one table, with your people.
Right.
When we counted throughout the whole event, I looked at you and I told you on Friday, Ed, I'm in the 60s. And by Saturday for your VIP room and what showed up after that, a couple of people came in late, like Mudslide Mac and his friend and wife came in late. We had, if I'm not mistaken, it's 75 people at this event throughout the 3 days.
At least that.
At least, yes.
Yeah. So fantastic attendance, and while you're talking about that, I want to thank everybody that showed up. It amazes me that so many people just come down just to hang out and go play craps. I mean, it's really a cool thing and they come from every corner of this country.
Yep.
We've got them from New England and New York to West Coast. Came in, like you said, Mudslide Mac, he came in. Justice Jen, she's on the West Coast, she came in, and then a ton drove in from all over the Midwest, North, Southeast United States, Mid-Atlantic area. They all drove in, and people were flying in. It was amazing how many people show up just to go play craps with fellow and enthusiasts, have a good time, enjoy themselves. And I can't say, can't say enough about how Hard Rock treated us. Just they kept tables open for us. They opened the crapless early on Saturday, and they had the they had the 2 12-footers open. They opened the crapless early so we'd have enough tables for people as they came in. They gave us that VIP lounge for 2 hours from 3 to 5, which is some of their prime early evening time. I mean, we just had it private to ourselves, had a great time in there.
Well, I don't know if you could say it, but I can say it. The host that we had, I'm going to say her first name, won't say anything else. Krista was outstanding. Outstanding.
She is.
Always is. Yep, always is.
She's that way all the time. I try not to bug her, but she likes. She was really into this event. She was really getting into it. Like I say, we even did a little live, which I ended up having to take down because she thought it was okay, and then corporate said, "Well, we don't have marketing approval and all that kind of stuff, and you're talking too much about the casino." If she hadn't talked specifically, I guess, about the casino and just talked, it would have been okay. But I was trying to give her time to give it a plug, and that was the wrong avenue to take on that. Gee, let me put you front and center. Tell me about it. How'd you get in? What was going on when you got there?
Well, I flew in from Lebanon, and man, my hands were tired. No, just kidding.
Oh, here we go. Corny jokes.
Oh my God.
No, I flew in.
Now we're going next.
There you go.
That's all it takes. I flew in first thing Thursday morning, and right out of the bat, rental agency started giving me a hard time about cars. I asked for full size. I wanted to make sure I have a trunk to put the the bags in, and also, people sit comfortably. I had Jeff and a few others that I wanted to pick up. They had small cars and an SUV. That's all they had. So I ended up with an SUV. Um, was trying very hard to meet up with Ed, you guys over at the IP. Ended up just driving to the Hard Rock and sitting in the lobby for 3 hours until it was time to pick up Jeff. The room wasn't ready, but sitting in the lobby, I'm telling you, talk about discipline. Hearing all the slot machines, and you can't take the bags and just walk through the casino, so you have to sit in the lobby, hitting all the slot machines and listening to them hitting the jackpots. You know, Lou came over and kept me company, but man, it was hard. It was hard, but the overall the trip was good. I during the day I only did good once or maybe twice the whole week. Um, I think only one coffee run that was inadvertent. It wasn't meant to be. It just happened towards the end. Was a winner for me. It didn't matter what time I got up and went downstairs. There was already 4 or 5 people waiting. I just couldn't get into the groove. But overall winning session. But I had a good long winning sessions that helped recover some of the losses. Um, the private table was awesome. Um, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And I think the highlight of the whole trip was dragging you, Ed, to Boomtown to play on the tub. That was the highlight. That was it. If we didn't do anything at all during the entire week, that was it for me. It's like getting you to get on that stadium craps and play. Because you hate that place. I know you do. And I was driving, so it was driver's choice. Um, I forgot who. Jeff, you were there. I don't think Oz was with us, but
It
yeah,
was.
I didn't take pictures. Of course, I didn't want to get kicked out. But
I have a picture of him at throwing dice. I have a picture when I go to my slideshow. It's a bad
on
picture,
the
but I have a
tub,
picture.
on the tub.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
It's a
man,
bad
you
picture,
you
but
need
that's
to send
it.
it to me so that I can frame it because that was the highlight of my whole
It's
trip.
it's not a good picture, but it's there.
It's a terrible highlight, dude. I'm sorry you had such an awful time. All right, Oz.
Yeah. Oh, we got in. What time? No, we got in Friday. Stent Placer and I flew in from Tampa on the same flight. Got in Friday morning bright and early. I think we landed before 8 o'clock Biloxi time. And I had called. I'd called our host beforehand and said, "Listen, when I get there, I don't want to not have a place to put my bags down." And so she checked. Was kind enough to check me in. Either Thursday night or maybe Friday morning early before I got there. So my room was waiting. It was perfect. That worked out great. Uh, Dropped all the luggage off, stent back up there, and we went down. We went down. I believe we went straight to the tables. I do know that Friday was not a. I got my apple waxed on Friday. I did not do well at all day. The old don't play when you travel kind of thing. I should have probably done that on Friday because it was not good. But starting on Saturday and then all day Saturday, I had great sessions. And then, of course, Sunday afternoon at the reserve table, we had a blast. Bunch of it was such a joy, and it always is to play with people who act responsible and professional at the table, right? You never have to worry about chips in the way. You never have to worry about somebody arguing because their $10 hardway bet's not up anymore. You never have to worry about it's refreshing and a great time. So that and then as G mentioned, we had a coffee run. He did, and let's back up. I had an early coffee run where Ed and Dr. Yank and Stent were on the table, and we all did well there, and helped out the old bankroll at the Hard Rock, and then. G called me, wanted to know if I wanted to just get some coffee after he dropped, I believe it was Jeff off at the airport, and I told him that Dr. Yank and Stent and I were going to go to the IP and see if we could take a swing at the ATS. And G will tell you probably more about that. But he had already been to the bank and he had to figure out some fund situation. And sure enough, he showed up and joined us and had probably, I don't know if it was your best of the weekend, G, but a great toss at the end of the weekend, and everybody went home happy. So
We had a lot of great rolls.
Yep.
Yeah, there were. You mentioned Stent Placer. He might have been the shooter of the weekend.
Probably so.
Him and Rock. Him and Rock. They were.
I was going to say Rock. I was going to follow him up with Rock, but Stent Placer, he had. I don't think he had a roll under 10. Now he may have, but I wasn't there. But I mean, he had rolls all weekend long that were good, solid, making money type of hands.
Either side of the table.
Yeah, on either right, stick left.
Yep.
He did well. And you mentioned Rock. Rock had a 40 roller down at Treasure Bay. He had a 30-something roller on our private table.
Yeah.
And so he was, I see Justice Jen is in there on the chat. I'm not able to pull my chats in for some reason tonight, but she was keeping records wherever she was at, all the different shooters. And thank you, Jen, for doing that. And thank you for coming. But we had a lot of good, solid rolls. I had a few PSOs. I did, but
Yep.
I had some pretty decent runs too at times. So that was a good, solid weekend of craps play, and really more than a weekend for some of us. But when you can go and play 4 or 5 nights and still walk away positive playing that much craps, you not only got a great weekend going, but you got great crews and great people with you that are also playing. Because we don't really care, for those out there watching, we don't care who makes the long run. We just want to be on the table. That's what that's what you want as a player. You just want to catch that run.
Yep. No egos, right? No egos.
Nope.
Just
Nope.
Yep.
That was
Jeff,
the beauty
I know.
of it. That was the beauty of the whole week, of the whole bash. I don't know about other tables, but the tables that I played on, there were no egos were out the door. It's like, hey, you want to roll? Yeah, I'll shoot. No, I'll pass the dice. You shoot. It's what meetups are supposed to be, but more often they're not. More often people get amnesia when they get on the tables. They forget etiquette. They forget all that stuff.
Good, solid craps people there. I know Wednesday night, for example, I hit at the IP when I was there. I hit 2 sides, never could close out the all. And I was like, when I checked out and left, I said, well, I'll be back here. I never had time to get back there. I never even made it back to the IP. We did go to the Palace once, but we didn't even get to play because they had one table open and it was pretty full. Jeff may have played there. Jeff, did you play?
Yeah, I did. You guys were over at that Casino Wizard place, and G was
We were
sniffing out
playing
the slot machine. But no, I did. I played for 4 shooters and caught 3 pieces of the ATS. Not me. I only rolled the dice once. Other players.
All right. So you're there at a table with nobody you know.
Yep.
You bet the ATS. Thank you, Birdman. We appreciate your support. Gave us a super chat there. We get like $10,000 in super chats tonight. We'll do one next year. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so but you caught 3. You stayed for 4 shooters.
Yep.
None of them you knew, and you caught 3 sides.
Yep. I shot the dice and then stopped. So the 3 people before me, I was up 5-5-5 and caught 3 pieces of it. Went 10-5-10 on myself, but didn't pan out.
The Palace was probably local too, right? Probably local shooters at the
They,
Palace.
yeah,
Yep.
they knew
It
how to
was
throw the dice.
Friday morning, I think it was. So
Yeah.
Yep.
is it
It
Friday
was.
morning? I think it was Friday morning. Yeah, when we went in.
That was Thursday morning when we all flew in.
So
Thursday afternoon.
might have been an afternoon.
Thursday
I don't know.
afternoon.
I feel like it was anyway. Time all melds together. I feel like it was Friday morning sometime.
No,
But
it was Thursday, Ed, because we went
was it?
there, then we went to Boomtown, and then we went and looked at the boys' house, and then we went back. Remember?
Yep.
Yep. The future boys club, maybe.
Future Boys Club. Yeah, that was an interesting trip.
Yep.
Glad you had a good
Jeff,
driver.
Jeff, you said you had some pictures you wanted to share with us. You want to?
Yeah, I
You
can. Yeah, I
gonna?
can share some. I'm going
You
to start
you
out
wanna
with this.
and can you control the speed so you can talk about what you're seeing? Because mine on my song is just flash,
No,
flash,
and
flash.
some of them are going to be repeating, but we're going to start out with
It's
this right here.
Oh,
In case people don't notice that one, I'm gonna back up just a second on that. But that's the close-up version. In case Ed says he's never played a tub or a stadium style craps, but that's it. That's Ed shooting shooting
how many
dice.
did I? How many did I roll?
I don't remember, but we all shot once. I honestly don't remember. I lost money there. I think I stuck $200 in and might have had like $15.48 out.
Y'all don't know how to bet these machines. That's why.
Oh, good grief. All right, let's go back. Let's start at the beginning. That's what my morning looked like Thursday morning as I left off from the Delmarva Peninsula. If you can't tell, that is the Atlantic Ocean off to the side. And we're about just a little under 10,000 feet there when we left. So anyway, here we go. Got there. We had lunch. It was Lou, G, me, and Ed for lunch at the Hard Rock, at the cafe. And we've already seen that picture. There's G took me up to the suite that you once had, Ed, and we've got a beautiful picture with the Beau Rivage in the background. There, we got this picture here. I had to show this one. So we were at lunch, and G walked away, and the lady came over, and she said, "Is everything okay?" I said, "No." G walked back up. I said, "This gentleman here, he's a pain in the butt. Could you do something with him?" And she said, "Well, I'll stand him in the corner." So it looks like he's relieving himself, but really he's standing in the corner.
Truth be known, he was peeing in the corner, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't show you the picture of the floor. I didn't put that in here. But here's that lunch where we were eating lunch that day. Let's see, on the right side we got me, Ed, Jamie, Lee, Dr. Yank, and on the other side we got G, Oz, and Stint Placer. And I don't know if there's anybody on the other side of Rick or not. I can't tell. I don't know if Lou was there or not. I don't remember.
I don't think so.
How's this look, Ed? Does that look familiar?
That looks very familiar. That looks very familiar, man.
You want to tell me what happened?
Yeah. I ordered a rack of ribs because everybody else at the table was ordering half racks. And they said, "Ed, you can't eat a half rack." And I said, "Hold my bourbon and I will show you I can eat a whole rack." Well, they brought me a half a rack. And so I brought it to the waiter's attention. I said, "I ordered a whole rack. You brought me a half rack. Bring me another half rack, please." They brought me another whole rack. And I ate every one of them but one. I gave Jeff
There
one.
it is. There's the one that you gave me, just one.
I gave you one.
Yep, you did. Gave me one rib.
I ate a rack and a half of ribs right there on the spot.
Yeah. Well, this was another night we were having. We were sitting at the Oyster House. I believe it's probably night 2. That's Jen, Ryan from Mark the Point, Leon from Great Crafts, which you have a picture on the intro for that, and then Ryan's wife, Micah, in front of him. But you cut me out in that picture. But this is the same night. You can see Ryan sitting in the upper left-hand corner. But
and there's our host. There's our beautiful host right there in between me and Oz.
Yep. So if you go around right to left, we've got Lee, that's Dr. Yank, and we got Lou, we've got Rick, and me, Ed, Krista, Oz, G, and Rock, the one famous Rock that had a roll, and I only caught 2/3 of it, but he helped me dig out of a hole, and Rock did very well that night. All right, now I just throwing this in here. This is Troy Rogers. He said I owed him a hat, so I brought him one. So he was playing with the hat Friday and Saturday. I just had to put that one in there. My hat.
Good for you. Yep.
there's a shot of Lou counting his chips. I think he got to his 28%. He upped himself from 2% to 28 on this trip, and I think he was going to get off the table. They're just kidding, Lou. And there you are releasing a shot there. I believe is that a crapless? I believe that is at the crapless.
Yeah.
Yes, it is at the crapless. Yep. And another shot standing beside it. Those are my chips in the missing window there, and then Lou.
Those are on the private. No, they're not. No.
No,
that's
That's on
crapless.
the 12-footer. That's
Yeah,
a 12-footer.
this is still crapless. Yep.
That's crapless table.
Yep,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yep. And then this was lunch the next day, and I'm not going to say anything because G, we can't say too much about this, but G sat at your table because he didn't want to sit at my table, and I guess probably now's a good enough time to say, Lou, I know you're in the audience. I did tell G that he owed you $75 and he owed me $25. Now, Ed and Oz don't know what it's about, I don't think, but we're not going to say anything because the rest of the people are in the chat. We're just going to leave it go at that. I did, Lou, tell G that he owed you $75.
Yeah.
So
he will take Zelle payments there, G.
Yep. This is the opposite side of that table. It's me, Jen. Ed came over and posed. Lee, Dr. Yank, and then stent placer Rick was there. Now this picture here. Now, Ed, you want to tell the story about this bottle that I'm showing right now?
I've got it right behind me here. Let me grab it real quick.
Don't pour anymore.
Why? I'm not. This is too expensive of a bottle. I mean, this is Brothers Bond. This is a cask strength bourbon that is, it's like the number. You got the number of the cask and all that stuff on here. This stuff is 114.08 proof.
And
so pretty stout stuff, but it's good sipping whiskey. I had two little teeny tiny, maybe not teeny tiny sips right when we came on, and I said I got to put this up on my shelf behind me because and I appreciate it. I got so much bourbon. I had 7 bottles of bourbon when I got home. I had 3 regular bullets. I got a 10-year-old bourbon bullet sitting right here. Actually, it's not full anymore. I have up here behind me. I've got the chicken cock that Terry brought me.
I wouldn't stand in front of that, but
And then I've got a bullet up there that I have never seen. I haven't seen this one before, but it's one of their cask strength limited edition bottles. I haven't opened this one yet, just so you'll know, but I plan to.
Well, it is the brown water bash. Now everybody knows what it stands for.
And I got a pair of socks.
Well, let me tell the story about this one that I got you. That I shouldn't say I said to Oz, Oz, I don't know too much about bourbon. Could you tell me something to get that Ed probably does not have that is not Bullet? He called somebody. I don't know. He called a family member, your son or somebody. I don't know what it was. He called somebody, yep. And so I said, Lou, can you go out and get me this bottle and I'll pay for it. So Lou goes to 3 different places and he came back and he came back with this Brothers
Bond.
That's it, yes. And so there it is. So Lou, it's from both of us. It's not just from me, but Ed, thank you very much for your hospitality while we were down there. So
yep.
We'll move on.
Lou was a great. I mean, God Almighty, how can you? Lou was like the person just to have around, if you needed something done or you just needed to take care of business, whatever. Lou was always there.
Yep, he was. In this picture, we got Oz photobombing us in the background, but it's Ryan from Mark to Point. That's Winford. That's Mr. Yo. And then me. And in the background, you can barely catch him on his beard, but that is Blackburn, otherwise known as Derek Blackburn. Yep. He is the one that shaved that beard last year for the Craps for the Cure for a donation. That's all grown back.
Grown back, and his wife said he could not shave it this year.
This is something that I was owed last year that Oz brought me. And Oz, I thank you very much. I put it up there on the bar there in the VIP room. That is the Mid-Atlantic Craps mini table, which I'm going to show when I get done with this picture here. I know that Ed's got one, and a couple other people have got one. Let's keep moving forward. That's Michelle. That's Georgia girl and me. I got to meet her at the meetup, and her husband's somewhere around there, but I think I cropped him out of the picture. This picture here is Sweet Lou, and then there's Sarge, the one and only Sarge Guy, and me. Ryan again, Ryan and me. That's Mark the Point. That was there. That's Leon. That's Great Craps. He came in Friday. Picture with Mr. Yo and his wife talking to Ed, and looks like there's I can't see who's in the background beside Jamie and Max. I can't see anybody. There's Jen and Anthony, the one and only Anthony from New York, who's in the chat. Oz up in the corner, and then that is Jody behind him from Kentucky that I met in Atlantic City last month. And there's a picture of Jen taking a picture of Ed and Leon moving forward. If I click, my mouse works with me. Here are the, let me make sure I didn't miss one there because it didn't. It did, yeah. So this picture here, if you count it, there are 49 people in that picture, believe it or not. And people walked out of the event that day as we closed down on that. We're probably going into about an hour and a half into this this event when we took this picture. It had gotten rather warm in the VIP room, and people started to leave. But this picture here is 7 of the 9 YouTubers that were there. Mr. Yo, G, Ed, me, Ryan, Leon, and Sarge from left to right. And missing that's Mudslide's Mac, in case nobody's ever seen him. That's Ed, Mudslide, and then me, and then the gentleman to the left is a friend of Mudslide.
That'd be Dr. Random.
Okay, Dr. Random. Okay, I did not know that. Now I've learned something. All right, and then just to show that there was another YouTuber there, there's Waylon, there's G with Alicia, and Waylon, we're sitting in front of the Dunkin' Donuts. Of all places to find G is in front of the Dunkin' Donuts, and Waylon and Alicia were on their way out one night, and they stopped and talked to us. There's Ed and Sarge, good picture there, Ed. I'll make sure you get that one. I don't think you got it before. This is G's morning Sunday session, a couple pictures I took. People all around the table there. He had 23 people at any given time that were there for that as he addressed it, and he had to scream over the music because it was super loud. There's Ed giving his 2 cents worth about something I don't specifically remember because I couldn't hear a damn thing. And just a couple more pictures of that little get together that G did of his little free little ceremony thing, free little seminar thing that he did, and. That guy in the orange shirt, he was there almost the entire weekend. I do not know his name, but he was taking notes this morning. I don't remember the gentleman's name.
He was wide open. He was.
Yeah, but he came forward. I never saw him play. That's a picture from the elevator.
I
thought it was from my room.
I saw him play.
Okay.
I did too.
I did not. Yep. And one more picture, and this is the picture sitting at G and me getting ready to leave that morning, and I caught that picture of you probably can't see that, but that is the guitar in the front of the Hard Rock. That was why we were waiting to leave the exit on our way to the airport with me, and that's all I got.
Thank you for sharing those, man. Those were great.
Yeah.
You know. So we ended up with 9 different YouTube personalities there. Is that right? We
yes,
had seven plus the 2 that weren't in the picture. So
much like Waylon.
Yeah, and Waylon was around all the time. He just wasn't ever in that lounge where we were doing the pictures right then. Mudslide came in a little bit later than everybody else. He flew in on Saturday, and so that's kind of a scoop. A lot of y'all don't even know what Mudslide Mac looks like, but now you do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't know if I was supposed to show that or not, but I got a picture of him. He seemed to be okay for me to take the picture, so
he doesn't. I don't think he'll mind. I mean, you know.
They all signed waivers on the way in.
So,
yeah.
I know. Mark wanted to know if that beautiful blonde was our host Oz, and of course she was.
Yep.
So Oz, tell us how she assisted us with setting up the private table. I know you and I did a lot of background work and all that stuff, and we can talk about that too. But talk about how they helped us with the private table for Sunday night.
Yeah. So you know, we when Ed had decided that he was going to go ahead and there was indeed going to be a Brownwater Bash 3, I just reached out to her because obviously she was instrumental in prior years of being able to get us to do a reserve table, and for whatever reason, it's beyond me why she likes Ed and I, but we're one of the very few people that they'll do a reserve table for. They just said that usually it doesn't work out for them. Anyway, having said that, there's a little bit of a negotiation that goes on, with her. It's not that we can just put anybody on the table because the Hard Rock is a business, and they're looking for people, and they're doing their best to try to get people who are going to be, repeat visitors, and also be a heavy of enough better and player that it's worth it, because obviously she has to I guess answer to her bosses and and whatnot. But having said that, she is as soon as we had proposed some names and of people that we thought would be good to go, and she did all of her research. She reached right out to everybody individually. Some people were prior was a clientele of hers prior, and some people weren't. And she reached out and hopefully made everybody feel very welcome and at home, because that's what she's very good at that. And I can just tell you that if you enjoyed yourself and you want to repay her, the easiest way to do it is just book another trip. It doesn't have to be a big outing, doesn't have to be anything like that. Just book another trip. Have more than one. Have a couple different trips there for her, and that's the best way to repay her.
She went over and above on everything, I think. I mean, I can't remember having any real difficulties or anything. I mean, people always ask, can I get on the private table? And we're just like, no. I mean, there's a process. And the process is really, you got to have a high theoretical. She got to be able to provide that to her bosses. And maybe we get one or two in that have a high theoretical, but they don't have the play there. We can kind of negotiate that in. But it's a 14-foot table, and we had 12 people on it. And we had that private table for 8 hours from 4 p.m. Yeah, well, it went over after. Yeah, a lot of people stayed. There are some degenerates in this group. But I was not one. I left before midnight. I left right at midnight. But we had it from 4 p.m. to midnight. They provide a special crew for us. They tell us who the crew is in advance. We've got our own pit, we've got our own box, and then we've got a rotation of dealers coming through every 20 minutes. And those people are there to provide a service to us. And when I colored up, the pit boss came to me and said, when are y'all coming back? Immediately, she said, when are y'all coming back? Because they loved it.
Yep.
Their tote box would not hold any more money.
Yep.
It was just all but full. And I mean, according to them, it was that far from the top. So you can't get a chip in there unless you slide it down sideways. So the tote box was full. Everybody did a great job. Oz puts a lot of work into the private table, getting it organized and doing the legwork for the rest of us. And Oz, I really do appreciate what you do for that. And then I can always say, don't ask me, ask Oz.
And he did a couple different times.
I did that 3 different times.
Yeah, I got chased down by people.
But I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to lay it out there on the line. If you're one of those people who are just absolutely begging me and demanding to be on the table, you're never going to see the fucking table, except from a distance, because that's just the way I roll. Don't sit there and just when we went to lunch, people were coming up saying, I'm with part of the group, and no, they were not part of the group. and you don't get on the frickin' table unless you're part of the group that's already been assigned to the table, and they've already got your names on the list, and they know who's supposed to be on there. And that aggravates the shit out of me right there when people do that.
There's a process. There's a process that we go through. It's not, and when we do it for a reason, we do it so that we can make sure we put people that know what they're doing at the table, people that have a good chance of getting good rolls, or bad rolls, doesn't matter. I mean, but there's a process of going through, but at the end of the day, if your theoretical is not where it needs to be, we're going to have a hard time convincing the host that you deserve to be at that table. We always pushed a few in there, but it's to them it's math. It's pure math.
That's exactly.
And I know people don't believe that, or they think we're making it up. To them, it's pure math.
Well, I
It
said the
is.
same.
To her, I'm sorry, I was going to say to her bosses, it's pure math. She's very, she's very approachable about that, and she understands it. But like I said, it's not just her that has to approve it. It has to be approved by everybody. Has to be vetted. So I'm sorry, Jeff. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I said it last year, and I'm going to say it again. From a playing standpoint, the ethics, the etiquette that we use to play is incredible. The way that we bet, the way that we go from base to stick, stick to base, and people get paid just the same way the dealer's paying out. No late bets, no chips in the way on the opposite end of the table when somebody's shooting. It's just incredible. And the only thing that I would say that probably was beside hitting a six when Rick hit that six for the 8th or 9th time, and I'm not going to take G's thunder away from him because I'll let him tell him what happened. But beside that outburst there, and then when Megan came up to the table during Ed's roll, that's probably the only time that we probably were loud enough that other people understood exactly what we were doing, and we were winning money most of the time.
Yeah, that and the cheering section behind me that I did not know was coming and scared the crap out of me. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
Well, gee, let's go ahead and talk. We've been on the air 40 minutes. I don't know how much longer we'll stay on, but I mean, the private table is ultimately the closeout event.
Yes.
Talk about your experience a little bit, if you will, at the private table.
It was, as always, it was good. I enjoyed the fact that, we had this kind of the same positions we had last year. We've introduced maybe one or two new players. Just the highlights. After Sarge rolled, I got the dice, and all of a sudden I hear behind me, "Let's go, coach." I turn around. There's about 10 people that are part of the Georgia crew that come over here, every other month. Yo11 and his wife and everybody, and I turn around and I look at the dice. The first thing that comes in my head is don't effing PSO, don't effing PSO. And boy, I was glad that my first roll was at 22. I think Jen was taking notes, and the second one was 28. I was like sighing, like thank you, because with people back behind the scenes cheering you on, you kind of want to not only put a good show, but you want to toss pretty good and you want to make money.
All right. So your first two tosses, you were doing the drop shot.
First two tosses, I was doing the drop shot, and it was.
And I could have kicked your ass when you switched.
Yes.
Yeah, he switched to his around the back, behind the legs, off a backboard shot. That's what he did.
Yeah. And the drop shot was working, and it wasn't anything like you saw on the video. As a matter of fact, at one point, I don't know who was on the table with me. That was not the private table, but I threw it, and the dice landed so close that one jumped on top of the other, and it ended up like this, and they called it a no roll. Jeff, were you on the table with me?
Not for the roll, no roll, no. Oh, the dice on top of each other. Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard eight.
And they called it a no roll. That's how. But the drop shot was working. I hated the drink guy, and I kept on telling people at the table, if you don't order drinks, he won't come around. But sure enough, every time he came by, it caused a
We
second.
were thirsty. We were thirsty, G.
Dude,
Yeah.
bring bottle of waters with you and put them down there. Um,
That's what you
There's no
call being
al-
superstitious.
stupid.
Some of
there's no alcohol. There's no alcohol in them
That's right.
bottles of water.
And some of us have to have alcohol to calm our nerves.
Some of you have to have alcohol to be around me at the table. Um, it is what it is, right? Stat Placer did me very well. It is always fun. I bet the whole time the way I bet here on on
Yeah.
YouTube. If we needed the two, if we're playing at the ATS or we needed a 2 or 12, $50 on the two, $100 on the two, um, we'll get to that at the IP. But Stat Placer did me very well, starting 160 across, taking that $30 six all the way to 1200, and he hit it, and dropping a black chip for the 1500. That's always good. Hit a few $1,000 fours and tens. Um, the other highlight is at the IP, on the way out, where Oz wanted to hit an ATS, and I'm like, I went to the bank. First thing Monday morning, my coffee run was to Starbucks and the bank. I was not going to give the casino $1 back. I was up, I was satisfied. I took all my money except $35 in my wallet and put it straight into the bank. And I should have done 2 trips, so hopefully I don't get flagged. But he called me, and I had a buddy that helped me out, and I zelled 2 grand. We went up there. It was Oz, myself, Stent, and Dr. Yank. The dice went around a couple of times. I was on stick left 2. Oz was on stick left 1. I threw underhanded, and the table was really hard and shouldn't have thrown underhanded. Dice went around. The 2 grand was slowly kind of going down. Stent Placer came up to me when it was my turn, because I was the last one to roll, and he's like, "Look, you've been effing around all weekend. Just don't eff around anymore. Throw your Partos because you throw it so well." And I'm like, "I haven't thrown that in 6 months." He's like, "I don't care. Throw the Partos," and I did. And the dealers were already looking at me funny because when Stent was rolling, I took my 10 from 35 to 100 to 300, and then when I took the 600 and 300 back down to 35, both the box man and the pit boss started giving me looks, and even Oz was like, "Dude, they didn't like what you just did." And I'm like, I don't care. My rat chip likes it very, very well. Then I got the dice and I set the hard way, which I'm the king of double pitching, but I threw 30 some rolls, needed the 6 and 8 at one time only to, for the ATS, but threw a lot of hard fours, hard tens, and I would just set the 4 and then make it with 250 behind on odds. 500-600 coming back up. Ended up, we all colored back up. Stamp Placer came and he said, "If you just listen to me," I just started laughing. But that was pretty much the we had a good run, and I came home with a little bit more cash. But
Yeah.
Monday morning, first thing I did when I woke up late, hit Starbucks, didn't even go downstairs for Dunkin' Donuts. Got straight in the car, hit Starbucks, went to the bank, because I make options for myself. If you guys remember some of that, but
So,
made money
all
on the
right.
table from
Yeah.
several people.
Have we covered you yet, Oz, for the
Yeah.
private table?
Uh,
Not the play on the table. We talked about, so
yeah.
give us your view of the play on the table.
Like I had mentioned, I think when we just opened up here, like it's a pleasure to be on a table with everybody that was there. Just obviously, the professionalism, the way that they play the game, and try to keep the game moving. But having having said that, we started out, and I think Sarge started us out on the private table. I think he started out at was it Sarge or was it you, Ed? I can't remember.
That was Sarge.
Yeah, it was Sarge. There was a debate. It probably should have been you. Poor Sarge struggled his first few times he tossed the dice. It's a little far out. That 14-foot table on felt is it's a tough table. If anybody that has not played very much on a felt table with sharp dice, you will understand what it's like to basically toss dice into a mud pit, right? It just a lot of times that dice they catch and they just don't go anywhere, and if they do go somewhere, they don't roll the direction that you thought they ought to roll. So, but anyways, Sarge started it out. Came around to G had a great first roll. I think everybody on the table was probably up after that. I did not do very well. I didn't PSO, but I probably didn't go much past 6 or 7. Ed followed it up. That round he had a solid roll, and then Rock he had a great first roll if I remember right, and that great first roll kind of set the tone for the rest of the night for me anyway. That put me in the positive, and I don't think I was ever not in the positive the rest of the night. I did not. A couple things I learned on some of the shooters, especially our old buddy Sweet Lou. There is if he sets a point of 6 or 8, max odds that son of a gun because he's coming back. He's going to hit that 6 or the 8. It's just going to happen. And those I remember after his first roll I didn't, and then after his second roll I did, and proved to be very lucrative. So I think everybody had solid rolls. I don't believe there was. I mean, by the time the table emptied, and I was still on it. I think if I remember right, it was Stent, Yank, and myself after midnight. I asked the dealers how long. I said, we don't want to keep you here. We can color up and leave. And they said, oh no. Megan was there until like 5 in the morning, and then a couple of the other ones had to be there till 1. And they said if we close this table down, they were going to get rotated into out on the regular floor, and they'd much rather they're having more fun here. So we stayed and played for a little while longer and had fun. I think Yank had a pretty good hand there after everybody else had left and it was just the 3 of us, and of course Stent had good hands all weekend. So
I would like to say, Ed, real quick, I didn't fare so well at the private table. My first 2 rolls were short. It was disappointing. My third roll was pretty long. Jen tracked it. I know it was in the teens somewhere. I redeemed myself, but I stayed for another rotation around, and then I went to dinner. When I came back, I stepped out because I felt my throwing was off, and I went to dinner and came back to that roll that Rock was having, and I caught 2/3 of it and made $14.50 on his roll. And that's all I'm going to say about how much money I made at any point in this show. But on Rock's roll, 2/3 into his 30-some roll, starting out with I want to say I started out with a 6 and 8 and maybe a field when I saw what he was doing, and I think my 5 and 9s were both at 300. But in any event, I had decent rolls throughout the weekend on the regular table, non-private table, a couple times with Jen and Ryan. Jen can tell you what I rolled. I had a couple 30s. I know one time was during the early afternoon, and she said that I brought them back. And the other time she was counting my rolls, and it was into the 30s. But I had a wonderful time. What I'd like to say about that private table, I got sidetracked. Sorry. Did you pay attention to the tip box? The tip box was full when I left, when you and I colored up, Ed, and they were not putting any white chips in the tip box. They were coloring them up, the red or green, and stuffing them in the tip box.
It was slap full.
Yep.
For that crew. That was the players. I can't be more proud of how they took care of our dealers that night. We had a great box. We had great box people that rotated in and out. We had great pit crew, our pit bosses. We had 2 pit bosses that rotated ever so often, and then the regular dealers every 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
They had us a full crew there. They were ready for us, and they loved it, and they immediately wanted us back. I mean, I hadn't even finished coloring up, and they were like, "When y'all coming back?"
Yep.
So
Tina was awesome.
Yep. And Ed, remember what Tina was wearing? The casino
yep,
tears.
Oh yeah.
Tina, the pit boss, was wearing one of the hunting license for the craps hunting license.
Mine's hanging on the wall.
She's been wearing that for a year. She's been chewing my ass out since February that it had expired. So I had to give her a special exemption that she wouldn't get a citation for playing with for being there with a
Expired license.
expired license. But I've got one on the way, and I'll take it to her next time I'm down there. So since I'm on the big screen, I'll give you my perspective of the private table. It was for me. And I was a little bit on the cautious side. I've been there. I've been on private tables where they're cold. I've been on private tables when they're hot. And I'm trying to fill this table out. And it is a 14-foot table with traditional felt. So they do bite. And a lot of people, I mean, I know on that table you've got to have a higher trajectory. That's why I would say that gargoyle, your drop shot type toss was working well on that versus anybody who was throwing a little more lower on a traditional felt table. You got to have about a 45-degree angle launch and bring it in. On a microfiber table, it's not near, it's 35 degrees. So it's quite a bit of difference in angle, and it took people a little while to get used to that trajectory and how that table was played. And so for the first 2 hours, it just seemed like I'm just like this, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And eventually I started doing what I call tactical plays. I would do, we talk about the automatic buys on the 4, 5, 9, and 10 where you pay the vig on the win. That's a big benefit to us. So I do like an $80 5 and 9 sometimes. Collect 116 right there on the spot. And then, then I'm feeling pretty golden at that point. I mean, I'm at least half paid for. I can regress. I did some regressions. I was doing a lot of tactical stuff just to kind of stay even or higher. I was just kind of waiting it out until we could get that roll. Y'all talked about Rock's roll. Rock had this, and I watched him. I stepped back. He would slide in close to my spot because I was at stick left 1. He was at stick left 2. I'd just step all the way back from the table. And he would look down at the table, and there was a pattern on the floor. And he'd put his left foot on the pattern, and he'd look down, put his right foot on the pattern. And he'd pull himself right into the table and lock in. And he was in the middle of a really nice roll. And all of a sudden, when he launched those dice one time, he basically landed them on a blackjack table way down on the end down there. I mean, he took those dice and he just threw them, I think, right between two people's or right over somebody's head on the end, and they landed almost on the blackjack table on the other end.
Between Dr. Yank and Stent Placer.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, so what the heck happened on that deal? So I had stepped back, and I was thinking, like, what, did he slip? I mean, I'm thinking they must have slipped in his hands or something. And he come back and he looked at me and he went, the stick gave me a 7 showing on the dice, and I just picked them up and slung them. So
that's Rock.
That would be Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
And it wasn't her necessarily. I mean, she's not supposed to do that, but there was a lot of action going on. We had so much going on. I think she just accidentally gave him the dice with a 7 showing. But he took those things and slung them. And, of course, he asked for same dice after he slung them. Well, so people say, why did he do that? Well, he did that for a reason, for those that are watching. He did that so that he could get himself back in that mindset and that groove of being ready to play.
Yep.
He could have said, just give me 2 new dice, but that would have been too soon. He needed the time to mentally focus, get right back into his groove that he was just in, and get ready to play. So he asked for same dice, which all that took a few minutes for that to happen. But
One of them
Yeah,
rolled under the blackjack table. We had to go figure out where it was.
yeah. I mean, it was a hell of a toss. I mean, he could hit a half court basket from that shot.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, he was he was in the groove though, and he stayed in the groove, and he had that 30 whatever it was, 31, 32, 33 rolls.
Yep.
That's when you kind of knew things were going right. You just could tell the table had gotten out of this flat stance, and then all of a sudden you're in a point where this table's fixing to warm up. And so you start doing a little heavier tactical plays, or you start doing odds, heavier odds. We don't talk about that enough down there. All right. So at Biloxi, at Hard Rock, it's 10 times odds on any number. And that's an important thing if you're doing a pass line bet. It's 10 times odds. We had a $25 minimum table that we were playing on right there. But even if you're on a $15 table, folks, you can still go 10 times odds.
Right.
150 is not baloney, right? That's not bad money. If you're going to back up your pass line bet, the IP is 20 times odds. So you've got different reasons to pay pass line bets down there if you'll ask and figure out and know your strengths and weaknesses, just for those that are watching. So Jen and Ryan, they had gone to dinner first. I think they broke out around 3 hours in or so. And then when they came back, I was starving. I had not eaten anything really for lunch. I had a late breakfast, which was a lot of protein. I think Oz, me and you, and who went with us? Who showed up?
Was it Stent? Or somebody went with us.
Somebody went to dinner with us real quick, and we just went and got we went to the cafe, but we had quick food. We didn't want,
Right.
I think it was Rock. Rock
might have been. Rock might have went with us. Yeah.
It was Rock. It was Rock. Yeah.
So we talked about it. Of course, when we're all gone, then the other people that are at the table keep the table moving. They slide into their spot. So I get back to the table, and Sweet Lou is at stick left one. He says, "Ed, do you want this spot?" I said, "No, I want you to shoot from right there." One thing I want to mention before I go there, though, was Oz. Before we even started the table, you remember Rock wanted us to not put him at stick left two.
Right.
He said, "I'm just telling you guys, I've thrown better all weekend from straight out." He said that 3 or 4 times, and we said, "Okay, we hear you, but this is a 14-footer, not a 12-footer, and you should shoot from right here." And he said, "Okay, I'll tell you what, I'll shoot from here twice, and if I don't like it, I will give up my spot, and then I'll slide down to the end and maybe try it from the end down." I said, "Perfect, no, not a problem." So he was working with us and trying to figure out his spot, but he was in we made him play from the absolute best spot, as it turned out. Yep. So we come back from dinner real quick. Like I said, Sweet Lou's got the thing, got the dice. I wished he didn't have the dice because I would have bet on him. And they've covered our racks. We've moved our chips out of everybody's way, and everybody's got a cover. And I had a bunch of black stuck in my pocket just in case I needed them later and that kind of stuff. But Lou wanted me to slide down. I said, "No." I said, "Actually, I'm going to slide right into the hook right here." I said, "I feel like right now the distance will do me good. The extra distance, the extra 2 feet, the extra 1.5 feet will do me good." Because I'm used to doing that on the crapless table a lot of times anyway. And so I got into one of my better tosses of that night right there. But I remember this explicitly, and Jeff over there, he mentioned it kind of briefly. I had a point of 9. And anybody that knows me and plays with me knows I'm always trying to hit the point because I've got some pretty good odds on my point. And I've got the dice. They're slid to me. I'm setting the dice, and I'm picking them up, and I'm getting them set. And the table flipping erupts into the loudest screams and yells and applauses down on the far end out. And in my mind, I'm like, what the hell is going on? How do they know I've already hit this point? That's exactly my thought process. That was exactly my thought process. I never looked up. I just continued with my toss, stayed focused, and hit the 9.
Yeah.
And then I looked up and went, oh, Megan's over there. That's why they're yelling and screaming, because Megan had come to the table. We love Megan as a dealer, and she had not been able to come in early because of a family obligation, but she came in for the next shift and was put on our table.
Right.
But
I
we had a
didn't say
great
anything because I was standing right next to you. I wanted to yell, but I kept my mouth shut because you
Yeah,
had
so
the
did I.
dice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
didn't.
both had rebought in next to me over there on the end. So I was like, but I didn't know what was going on. I was having a good roll, and I was like, I hear all this yelling and screaming, and I literally, in my mind, I was going, how do they know I've hit this point already? You know?
I was screaming like I was at a George Strait concert there. When she showed up, I loved it. I got another a rock story for you, and I can't remember. I know Yank and I think Stent were with me. We're playing on that 12-foot table real quick, and you're talking about the 12-footer by the aisleway, right? And there was somebody not in our group down at the. He was at stick left. He's probably at stick left 1, and there was somebody not in our group down on the end. And is this big old guy with had a long beard, and he was like, laying on the table, wasn't standing up straight and was laying out over the table. And you know as well as I do, Ed, and G, you probably remember it. That table there, the sweet spot at that table is right at the shadow line, right where the shadow of the wall.
That's it.
And you keep this dude completely obscured the shadow line because he was out kind of leaning over the table, big old guy there. Rock picked up the dice and he hit him so hard. One die hit the dude in the forehead, and the other one hit him in the chest.
Yep.
And Rock goes, "Oh damn, my bad. I'm used to playing on a 14-foot table. I got to figure this length out."
Correct. That's exactly what
He
you said.
drilled that dude. Man. It was hilarious.
Perfect.
And that's exactly what you're supposed to say after you drill somebody like that. You're supposed to say, "I'm used to playing at the 14-footer." That's it's a SOP. Standard
Ed,
operating.
I think I told you about the guy that told me that I needed to learn how to play the game. It turned out that he was a friend of John and Laura's, and
Yeah.
I think Ryan and Mark were at the other end of the table, along with Laura was just standing there, but John had been playing. I think it's John had been playing, and I was trying to squeeze in, so I was trying to get this guy who was about as big as me, who was playing. Lou was standing behind me. I guess you could say he was in the hook, but also stick left 2 and 3 at the same time. So I was just trying to squeeze in to get in the table, and the puck went off. I thought the roll had ended, so I went ahead and balled in, but I balled in with chips. And so he got mad at me because I squeezed in. And then, of course, the guy 7'd out, so he blamed me. And he said, "Man, you need to learn how to play the game." Well, I did buy in when the puck was off, but little later, he comes back and Laura waves him off. And this is one of the rolls I had when Jen and Ryan were at the table. Laura waved him off and said, "This guy's on a good roll." And so he said, "Well, that guy don't even know." I heard him say, "That guy don't even know the game." And she said, "You don't understand. This guy's with this group I'm with. He knows everything about the game. Shut up and get away from me." So,
She was a great shooter. That Laura, she was a fantastic shooter.
had a good roll at Island View, I heard.
Looked nice. Yeah.
She was at the
Treasure Bay.
Treasure Bay. She had a 40+ roller there.
Yeah.
Yep.
She sure did. And then I caught a couple of nice hands from her. But she's better at stick. She will shoot from stick left 1 or stick right 1, but she's better at stick left 1. Not bad at stick right. Not bad at stick right, but she's really good at stick left.
The 2 times I played with her, both her and her husband were on the right side.
Yep. And by the way,
Typically.
they both came over and spent the afternoon, and we went on 8 last night. And she is better from stick left because she shot here from stick right and straight out, and then she went on stick left and just kept on shooting. And I'm like, "Why do you go on stick right? You're a better shooter." She said, "Well, sometimes there's no room." I said, "Make room. Tell people to make room for you." She shoots.
You know,
She has a
every
very
time
nice
this
toss.
every time this trip, Ed, I was able to get on the left side, whether it be straight out, the hook, left one or left two, and it was just ironic that it worked out to be that way. And somehow I moseyed and weaseled my way in to stick left one and two if I stayed long enough at the table. I never at all shot from the right side, and that I thought was ironic that I was able to have some good rolls and bet some on some decent people. And I will say. My downfall this trip, if you're going to get to the downfalls, was betting too much on too many people. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, that is a downfall. I mean, it's like me. I played more than I should have on Friday and Saturday, especially Saturday a little bit. But I was playing with the people that had showed up.
Yep.
And so I played too much on that particular day. And in fact, my pit boss came over and said, you the next night, did you drink too much last night? And I said,
Yeah.
it's highly probable. And then I walked away and I came back and I said, yep, I know I did. I remember now. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. So, but that was right after the Brown. I mean, God Almighty, I was drinking bourbon inside our private event like it was going out of style.
Yeah, I was worried about you at the crapless table after dinner.
I think I did okay after dinner.
You
though.
did two fantastic rolls while I was there.
I know
Yes,
that
indeed.
table. I know that table pretty well, dude. And I usually know it right after I've had a couple of drinks at dinner, so that's okay. That kind of all started. You practice like you play like you practice, kind of a thing, right there. But I enjoy all those tables. To be honest with you, the table our private table, that's my least favorite, and that's just because it's felt. You've got to adjust your angles. You've got to adjust everything, your landing zone. You've got to find it. And there is a dead spot on that table. And I hit it a couple times, and the dice would hit that spot, and they would bounce straight up, and they would come straight down. They would not go to the wall.
Mhm.
And more often than not, that was like on my 2V set, that was a 5-2. It always come down to double pitch top and bottom, seemed like. But once I remembered, oh yeah, there's a dead spot there. I've got to go beyond it. So I'm really crashing the wall a lot on that 14-footer most of the time.
Yep. I showed the dead spots during Sunday morning's session, and it's most tables have dead spots where the legs are secured. Most of them, because the legs are a lot of the craps table have just a wall.
You got a
right
brace
there
that
for the
runs
legs.
underneath there, yeah.
Yeah, and well, some have a curve, and if it's a curve, then it balances out. But if it's just one stump on the leg, there's a dead spot right there, and it's hollow here and hollow on both sides. So yeah, but I love felt. I wish they would get rid of all the microfiber and put felt. I learned to play craps on felt.
Yeah, but they
Well,
can't. The problem with felt is they can't put the beautiful colors and all that stuff
Correct.
that they put on it. I mean,
Correct.
it's very, very plain on felt. If they go to the microfiber, they can print any kind of color, any kind of design. They can do all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Saturday morning, and much to my surprise, I don't know why, but I was shocked because I left the table at midnight and I got up relatively early and I get down to the table at 7 a.m. Oz, you degenerate, you, Dr. Yank, and Stent Placer, a couple other folks are already on the table when I get down there, and y'all were on a table when I left. I'm not sure y'all ever went to bed, to be honest with you.
Hey, Ed, I got a question. Could
Sure.
one of the three of you talk about your world ace-deuce bet about 5 or 6 shooters into that private table? It was like one shooter after the other, and I don't know who it was that had the come out craps numbers and the yo 11s that came out in the 7s. But I mean, some of you had 75 and 15 on the world and the ace-deuce.
Yep.
We did, and I don't remember. That's a
I
good
was-
point. I think G might have been shooting. I don't
I was
remember
shooting.
on that particular one because the stick was asking for a calculator on
Yep.
the next one. He said, "That's it," because I mean they're like this high, and
But there was like
yeah.
7 or 8 people doing it.
Well, it was a popular thing to do, and it was. I mean, many people all through the weekend were playing the World Ace-Deuce, and I don't know. I guess because they watch videos, it's become a popular thing to do. Um, I don't know. Anyway, but it got stacked high, didn't it, G?
Yes, and every time we set a point, I set a point after that. All the dealers were like, okay, we don't have to worry about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they were relieved to see a point instead of having to figure out how to pay
yeah,
out $130
I didn't I
a
didn't
level.
go up to 8 like I did last year, but yeah, I mean, quarter, take it up to 50, take it up to 75, take it up to 100, and all the dealers were like, all right, we need a calculator here. it's, it's it's
That
funny.
was
We did Oz and I did the same thing to them at the IP,
Hmm.
and on my roll, um, I set the sixes top five facing me, and I hit a 12 on the come out and world bet pay, and so I switched it, I flipped it, and I hit the aces on the come out and world
Hmm.
bet pays, and then I hit a yo and the world bet pays, and everybody's going like, you know, go ahead and set a point. And the dealers were like, please set a point, sir, because they didn't even know what to calculate after that. And then I hit the hard four, so I'm like, wait, my dice is working. So I started betting the hard ways like crazy. But you know what, Ed? I did not know that it was 20 times odds. I was only doing 10 times. If I had known that, I would have hit him for a lot more.
Yeah, it's 20 times odds at the IP.
I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Did not know that. See, you you miss out. You lose money when you don't have all the information when you go to the
Literally,
game.
I use the come out game there to kind of tell me whether or not my tosses is my dice are doing what I expect them to do, right? And if I have a successful come out game with a world and ace deuce, I bet much bigger across now. Who knows, but to me, it gives me the confidence to know that I can bet bigger. At least coming out of the gates, and some of those have been my better hands ever. So
Yeah, but
you know
after
you know
after
I was
six come out sevens, and I finally looked at you and like, dude, you're costing me $100 every time you hit a seven
Well,
because I'm
well,
paying
it's because
for it.
you won't hop the reds. It didn't cost me a cent. I kept
Yeah,
going up 7, 25,
yeah,
25,
Buffalo,
25, and you're
Buffalo, my ass. It's like quit doing that crap. Hit a number so we
hey,
can
I
call it
paid for
good.
it. I paid for it. I knocked you off, and I gave you $75 to go back up. But then you returned the favor when you knocked me off later on and gave me 75 to go back up. So
Yes, I did.
that's
Yes, I
teamwork.
did.
The come out game worked a lot that whole
uh,
weekend. I'm glad
uh,
y'all brought that up, Jeff or whoever, because I know that I was playing it all the time, and it seemed to me like I was always hitting one, if not two. The magical number is three, but I mean, we're making those world bets pay us before we set a point, and it was working a lot the whole weekend with a lot of shooters. It was really fantastic. And everybody was playing that come out game. There's no ATS to worry about, but I would play it on an ATS table. But I mean, you know, no fear from the seven. The seven means you get your pass line, you get to press
Right.
the world for free. So
Yeah. And,
that's
and
a lot of
Ed, a
fun
lot
that
of
way.
people don't understand that. We get flack for going, across on the line. People call it whatever. It's like, oh, you just bet two numbers in the system and stuff like that. People don't understand that 9 times out of 10, well, 8 times out of 10, the world bet finances our line bets. When
A
you hit
lot
a 12
for
and
sure.
when you hit a yo and then you hit a midnight and you have a $50 world bet on it, it's going to give you enough to go 160 across.
Oh,
That is
easy.
from your winning to put down on the line. This is what I did on the private table. This is what I did everywhere, except when I played the 640. That world bet finances your line bet. And okay, so if you lose a quarter, so what? You lose a quarter. It is what it is. If you set a point, right out of the gate. But
Well,
8 times out of 10, this trip, that world bet financed the line.
I know one time I had just started out with the $5 craps. You guys were doing that 25 and 5 world and whatever, and I got it up to a three-way crap, and somebody rolled aces or midnight, and I got paid 150. And I'm looking over there at Ed. Ed's racking like $325. So what the hell am I? I'm doing something wrong here. No, it's
Yeah.
You
just
always
crazy.
trust it. We always, Ed taught me. I did not have a world, come out game before for a long time. Within a year and a half, maybe, Ed, you
Yeah. Yeah.
you said, "Gee, you need to start doing this," and Ed taught me how to do that. He's the one who taught me. Quarter world, $5 ace deuce, get hit, press it, and then at some point you don't do the ace deuce, but I do it because it's simple math for me. But Ed is the one that taught me. For the longest time, I did not, I just didn't matter. I just started, was rolling. But about a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe, Ed, you're like, "Gee,
Yeah.
you need to start doing this.
It's
It
a
makes
fun
you money."
bet. It's a fun bet. It's how you make your own little game, and it's your own little. I use it to see what my dice are doing on the first toss. That's the
Yep.
only mulligan you get anyway. So if you set them a certain way and you get a certain result, then you kind of know, okay, if I repeat that toss, this is more or less what I'm going to get. So the world bet ace deuce, I abandoned the $10 world $2 ace deuce early in the weekend, and we started doing 25s and fives because everybody was hitting numbers.
Yep.
I mean, it was just like no need for me to start out small on the world ace deuce. I'm just going to go 25 and 3, and that worked for me all throughout the whole weekend.
Yep.
It just hit not only when I was tossing, but when other people were tossing and betting it. I always wanted to make sure they were trying to shoot for it. If they were shooting for it, I was going 25 and 5.
Yeah.
It was just a point where you felt like the odds were almost in your favor that they were going to throw a horn, and if they threw a 7, well, then I got more money to press with, and they're going to try it again. So you
Yeah.
just press it on up.
Yeah. And this is why true DIs don't work to come out, because it's not just another roll. We're trying to figure out what our set and toss is doing, and that is the perfect time to see. It's on the come out roll. So that's why we don't, that's why I don't work my come out bets.
Well,
I
switching some.
hop the numbers sometimes if I have like when Stent, was throwing the sixes like crazy. He was a 6 and 8 machine all damn time. When my 6 was on the 12, and I hopped the sixes on the come out because I didn't want to waste. What do you call it, Ed? You're the one who taught me how to do that. Didn't want to waste it.
You don't want to waste a toss.
Yeah.
Jeff, you were going to say something about
I was just going to switch subjects. Somebody put in a chat here, and yes, I was through with the cigar in his mouth, and he never dropped it once. That's all I want to say. Somebody said you did, but I don't think you did, Oz. I don't think you did.
I don't know. It depends. If I did, it was after the Brownwater Bash, the VIP lounge thing, where sometimes things get a little sloppy, but I'm usually pretty good with it.
Yeah, you were. Oh my gosh.
Have you seen anything in the chat that we need to address? Because I can't pull them in tonight for some reason, and
No, there's a lot going on. You got 75 people or 74 people watching at one time a little while ago. Most of them are just commenting on what we're commenting about. Jen put the rolls in that we were talking about from time to time. But I seen a couple of places that somebody said, "How can I sign up for next year?" That's all I got to say about that.
who in the hell asked that question?
I don't know. We won't mention any names.
Ed already gave you the answer.
Yeah, I know.
10,000 in super chats will will guarantee.
One thing we didn't talk about, Ed, we hit on it, and that was the actual VIP room with the people that were there. It was very difficult for us to get around to talk to everybody and meet everybody with the 7 YouTubers there and other people that were there doing the things that we were doing, and they took care of us outstanding. I don't know the bartender's name. I know he was there last year, but outstanding.
Right.
But that was a unique group that picked up your commemorative chips for the event. That's the only place you gave them away. And other people were trading chips, not just YouTubers, but people that came, from with their own chips. I picked up like I don't know, close to 20 different chips I never had before.
Yeah.
I had to leave the Brownwater Bash 3 different times to go, play blackjack. That it turned out being either
Oh yeah.
really lucky or I might be pretty good at it. Who knows?
There
You
was
Yeah, you
there
made it to
was
the
that
end.
blackjack tournament that a bunch of us entered. I entered it just because it would give you a chance to sit down, take a break, and it's not craps, and you can just kind of do it. And me and G were on the same table. And when I started out, I was on fire. And then I had a $8,000 bet, and I had to double down on it. That sucker hit. And then I went back out with another $8,000 bet, and I had to split it. I mean, and then damned if I didn't get beat. A 19 got beat by a 20 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I was like in the hole behind everybody else because I was in the lead at that point. And then I like had to go almost all in. And then when I did an all in,
I had to leave the Brownwater Bash at 3:30 because I got that second seed or second place, and I told you I was going to ship it all in. Well, I didn't do that, and that was in about hand number 7, and I didn't realize that they were taking 5 winners or 5 places out of the 7 places to go to the finals, and I shipped it all in, and I busted. But that was a fun time, to have that included
Yeah.
with our
Yeah.
by the host.
It was
yeah.
fun. They took 5 to the semifinals, and then you had to win that table to get to the final table. So I actually ended up playing 1, 2, 3, 4 tables, including the final one.
You finished fourth, is that correct?
Third.
Third.
Yeah.
You finished third.
Yeah.
All right. So we had other people right behind. I mean, there were probably 4 that made the finals in our group in that blackjack tournament. 3 or 4?
No, I was the only one in the finals. There was 3 or 4 that made the semifinals. Yeah.
Semifinal. Okay. 3
Yeah.
or 4 made the semifinals, and then you were the only one who made the final.
Right.
All right. So, and then you got a bunch of free play out of that instead of cash.
I did, and well, no, I got free play, and then I got cash, and I was literally the last hand. The difference between my third place money, which was $1,000, and first place money, which was $20,000, was literally the fact that him and I, the guy that ended up winning the thing, ended up pushing with the dealer at 20. If that sucker would have busted, I was sitting pretty at 20. If that sucker would have busted, it was mine. And he flipped he had a 16, and I'll be damned if he didn't flip a 4. And then the dealer ended up pushing anyway.
Because the first prize on that blackjack tournament that weekend was $20,000.
$20,000. Yeah.
Cash.
Yeah.
Cash money.
Yeah.
Not free play, cash money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fantastic job, Oz.
It was fun.
Fantastic job to all the guys who got further than I got, because I thought I was good, and then G, you should have been in it
I
for
screwed
the
up
next
the last
round,
time.
and you screwed it up because you overbet, and you didn't need to overbet because you had all the money on your.
Yeah, I screwed up, and it was completely my
I
bad.
did that on the first table, but I won. I
Yeah.
put all my money in, didn't have to. I had everybody covered.
I was at 44,000 at the last hand, and I didn't do the math right. I screwed up, and everybody looked at me funny when I put my money there, but it was too late, and I got out. But I don't play blackjack, so most of the time I was like, I don't know what to do.
It was fun. It was a
It was fun.
It was a good thing to do to kind of break the flow, break whatever. I mean, that was Saturday morning when we started that tournament.
Noon, yeah. By noon.
Yeah. And so it was just a fun thing to do. I enjoyed it. I would do it again. No
It
problem.
sucked that it was during the VIP event, because we had to keep ducking out to go to that thing, and yeah.
Yeah. We started the VIP at 3:00, and the next round started at 3:30. So there was that interlude of people having to leave.
And
play blackjack.
overall, I was proud of myself. I kept my promise. I did not play as much as I played last time with slots. I only probably did half the slots.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Okay, so every time every time they played that little jingle, you'd look at me and you'd go, "Damn, there's another slot there's another jackpot I could have won."
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I did not play as much. Last time
Wait,
every time we turn around, I was at a slot machine.
Oz,
But
we were at
G,
breakfast one
but
morning.
G,
We were at breakfast one morning, Oz, and G was having a fit because right outside the sugar place there was a lady that hit, I don't know, once or twice, and that little jingle noise you talk about came, and G's like, listen, shh, shh. Oh man, they're winning. He just want to finish breakfast and go.
Oh yeah, he starts shaking. He's almost like he's like he starts shaking, gets all wet.
So I call BS on that he didn't play as much slots because I saw
I
about 9 different tickets that had $1,700 on them as winners.
It was no. It was 8, not 9. But
Okay, I
but
can't count.
I did not. As a matter of fact, I even the host said, "Hey, you slacked up on your slot play." I'm like, "No, I was smart about my slot play, not slacking up." But yeah, every time I heard that, it's like that's another jackpot I could have won if I was playing slot. So
G, do you remember when I showed you how to play that machine you had not seen before?
um, anyway, the bash was really well. It
No,
went very
I
well.
want us to go into that thing where you went, oh, that's
I
a
don't
new
want to go there.
machine.
I don't want to talk about it.
Let me put myself on the center. All right, so G,
I almost made it through the whole thing without talking about that.
G and I are walking into the high limit room, everybody, and the slots, and he's like, oh, there's a
Oh,
machine. I've never seen that
okay.
before. I don't know what that machine is. And I said, oh, I played it yesterday. Let me show you how it works. And I
Yeah,
kind of knew how it worked. I had a $1,600 hand pay.
yeah. No. I thought you were going to talk about the one over at the at the at Palace when we were playing while
Oh,
Jeff
that was
was.
a different story. Yeah, we were playing
Yeah,
the.
but we're not going to talk about that. Let's go back and talk about your jackpot. Let's talk about your jackpot. So you
I
went
like
in.
I like I like talking about the jackpot because I was teaching G how to play a particular slot machine.
Yep. And all of a sudden, boom, he hit it and it went to the jackpot and I pointed. He's like, "Oh, I'm not going to hit that." I put my finger on the amount while it was like going like this. And I said, "You're going to hit this one, Ed." And he's like, "Yeah, there's no way." He hit that one. He looked at me. He's like, I said, "There you go. That's how you do a jackpot." You know, it happens. It
Took me
happens.
to
But
it took
but
me
I'm
to show
happy
you.
for you because you played the night before. You
Yeah,
made a little bit of money, but you could not hit all of them in sequence. So
yeah,
as you were showing me, you hit it. So I was like, hey,
yeah. It was a
that was
fun
pretty
machine to
good.
play. It was a fun machine to play. Now you were talking about the one where?
No, I was talking about when we had ribs, and then
No, that's not what you were saying.
I don't want to talk about that. Let's move on. There are questions in the chat.
Yeah, but I can't see them. So
You did pretty good on a slot machine, and it was a slot machine, but it was a craps slot machine. And
all right. So
you,
yeah, I was playing the wizard,
yes,
casino wizard thing on the craps and playing the don'ts, and I was like, because I had heard and I had already verified based on previous trips, it's a very mathematical play. If you can just keep enough don'ts up there, you can make $100 or whatever. And Jeff stood there and watched me run that thing from a $200 buy-in on that thing all the way up to like 700 or something. Wasn't that right, Jeff?
Yeah, it was 700 because I stuck
yep,
200 in and was gone.
So we go to the palace and can't get on the craps except Jeff's on the craps table. And G pulls his ticket from some other machine and slides his ticket in and he's going to play the casino wizard. Now, whether or not he was playing the don'ts or not, I don't know, folks. I don't know what he was playing because he.
so hang on. So I had some free play. So I decided to go ahead and play the slots. So I took the free play to a couple of hundred, and then went to the high limit and made a couple of hundred. So by the time I got to your machine, the I put about 950 on the ticket into the machine, and you said I'm playing the don'ts and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, it's a slot machine, so I'm gonna follow you. But I was playing quarters, and you
Okay.
can only do max bet on certain numbers. But it just so happened that it did exactly what you were saying, and then it sevens, and then everything comes down, and I hit it 3 times, and then I looked down and I made $450 in three plays. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna push my luck. This is beginner's luck, and I don't play the don't, and I don't know what I was doing. So I went to cash it out, and it says jackpot win with call attendant, and I'm like, no, I did not. I'm won $400. Long story short, there's something going on with these machines to where they'll have to pay you cash, but there's no taxes because something was broke with the machine or something. But folks, this guy did play the don't on a slot machine, and he followed Ed's advice and won in 3 rolls and never played it again because I didn't want to push my luck. So there it is on YouTube, on video. G played the don'ts on a slot machine.
That he did.
On a craps slot machine. On a craps
Yeah.
slot machine. Not just
Craps.
a slot, a craps. He played the don't. So what I hear there is G played the don'ts on craps. Huh.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
No, I wouldn't call it a craps
With his
slot
own
machine.
money.
It had dice, it had layouts, you could play, numbers, but I wouldn't call it a craps.
It is craps. The game
Yeah.
said craps. The name
Yeah, it
was
said
craps.
right there, it said craps.
If it walks like a duck and it smells like a duck and it quacks like a duck,
But it laid
it's
chicken
got to be
eggs.
craps.
It laid chicken eggs. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hey,
All
I
right.
figured if I twisted his arm to go to Boomtown and play on the tub, that's the least I could do.
Well, I was glad. I was concerned that you were going to get a tax ticket because that's what I had the hand pay thing.
I was like, there's no way. I put $900 of my money, and there's no way I was gonna play. I was gonna pay taxes on that. I was gonna call BS and call the gaming commission on that one because
But-
I already paid enough taxes on crap.
But you didn't have to. You didn't have to. They didn't give you. They didn't give you the
No.
W9G to
So-
whatever.
So I think what happened is that something was wrong, and the thing would not push tickets out. The ticket.
Well, when you hit cash out at over $1,200, it automatically went to a hand pay because it's technically a slot type machine. But you had already put 900 of your own money in, so
Right.
you were taking your own money out, and that's
Right.
what.
So the guy
and
called
they
me
knew
down.
it. They knew it before they walked up to the table.
Yeah, the guy called me down. He's like, no, something's wrong with that machine. We'll pay you cash. I'm like, okay. But
So anyway, you didn't have to worry about the W2G.
not
Which
for
was
that
cool.
one. But I did for all the other 8 ones.
Yeah, and hopefully you had federal tax withheld.
On most of them, the low
Yeah.
ones, no, because you told me that it's not worth it sometimes.
But guys, we've been on quite a little while here. Is there anything popped up, Jeff, in the chats that we need to address?
Now, there was a question asked. Max asked a question just recently. They want to know who were the 3 longest rolls and how many jackpots did G hit. I already told him 8, but the 3 longest rolls, I didn't track those. I can honestly say that while I was on the table, including myself, multiple people in the 30s, there was multiple 20s. With our group, it seems like we were above average. If we had to keep a track on an SOR, I would say we were above average, maybe not above a 10, but there was always these teens. And with the way that I play, you get me to 6 rolls on the box hits, and I'm going to make money. I mean, that's just how I play. It's how I roll. So I got to get 6 box hits. And, if I don't, then, the regression is always there as well. But I think that's the only question I saw. If you know who they were, and if Jen's still here, maybe she can put that in.
Yeah, Jen's
who
got
did
the
them.
records. I mean, I know of Rock's 40 or 40 plus. I know of Lawrence 40 plus.
I know Stent had 30s a couple different times. I know G had a 30s. Yeah.
If you want to, Ed, you can call for questions as we wrap it up here, and
Yeah. let's do that. Y'all got a question? Because I haven't been able to watch the chat.
Yeah.
I can't pull them in today for some reason. So
I'll monitor the chat. So as we wrap up here, if you got a question, we can
she said we
take
had
them.
231s. I see that
Yep.
right there. We had 231s at the private table.
Right.
Yep.
Hey,
Yeah.
I was just going to say one thing. Talking to our host last week, and Ed had mentioned it, how happy the Hard Rock was with us. But overall, everybody that was there and played, and she had said that even the dealers, even people that weren't in our our immediate group, but just everybody that had came in, that for the most part, usually you get that many people in, and alcohol flowing and whatnot, and sometimes it's not. But she said, there was no reports back that there was any trouble with any of our people that were there, and everybody pretty much knew who was there with our group. So, man, great job by everybody there.
Ed, I
Most,
put a question
most
in the chat, in your chat inside the software here. You're not going to like it. That's one question. Anybody got a question? Put it in there, capital Q. Draw my attention to it, just like the other shows, and we'll go. I know you don't want to answer that, but your good friend
can't
Bud
read.
asked that.
Oh, when is Brownwater Bash 4?
Yes, that's what he's asking.
I have no idea.
I'm trying to nail that down. A couple people asked me the same thing, and I honestly got to say, Ed, last year you said that there wasn't going to be a 3, and there was, but I can honestly say, based upon talking to you, I really don't think there's going to be a 4. You've convinced me this year. I'm a gambling person. I'm going to take the odds that it's not going to be, but I'd be disappointed. I'd be happy to lose that bet if there was another one. Let's put it that way. Does that sound fair, Oz? Does that sound okay? Oh
Yep.
my. Let's see.
I'm already thinking through next year, and there's
Jen's asking, can we do a Brownwater Bash 3.5?
there you go. That's a good idea.
Now they're all asking it. When is it? I started something. Oh my goodness. Oh, good grief.
We'll wait to
Brownwater Bash to Atlantic City. It wouldn't work there, Anthony, but that's somebody else has said the same thing. Here's a question from Ardell. So what was the theoretical that they look for the private table, and what was the buy-in level?
You gotta have, and Oz, correct me if I'm a little bit off, but I think if you don't have at least a 750 with them, it's very difficult, theoretical. It may be a little bit higher, but I think 750 would be like a minimum number. What do you say, Oz?
Yeah, she would like to. They would like to. 750 would be the very minimum, unless we're able to. And I think we alluded to it. We had a couple exemptions there maybe to get started, because there's some. Basically, we knew that there were some people that would come in that really weren't established with the Hard Rock, but they would have that sort of theoretical from coming in, and so they allowed us, but. To Ed's point, 750 would be the very minimum. They would rather see it around 1,000 for the theoretical. The buy-in was 3,000 minimum buy-in on a $25 table, which is very reasonable for a reserve table, especially of that magnitude. They brought in a complete crew. It's not like they just rolled people in off the actual floor. They brought in a dedicated crew, a dedicated box. Ed alluded to it, a dedicated pit. We had a dedicated server that G kept running off, but we'll see how that goes.
I kept bringing that server back.
Yeah, I did too. I kept telling him. I said, just wait till he turns his back.
Yeah, I didn't mind him, even though I did go out on a 7 when he was bringing my drink. It didn't bother me any, not at all. Ted Berry says, question. I'm not sure how this is worded. Who won any more vests for casino tiers? I don't know what that means.
I did not witness a 40 roller plus, and that's the requirement. So I did not witness them.
I did not know that. There's something I just learned.
Me or Tinton has to witness a 40 roller plus to win the casino tiers hunting vest, and I did not witness one.
Jen wants to know, how much do you have to play to have a $1,000 ADT?
So, from my understanding, and it's it's a calculation, and she want or an average bet in the neighborhood of if you get rated an average bet of around $150 as your average bet for 4+ hours, basically. It might be actually for 4 hours would be the minimum. I don't really know how the calculation works. God Complex, right? I mean, he probably knows better than anybody, but
Yeah.
but I would I know that they like to see 4 to 6 hours of play at $150 minimum bet, and they're talking about that ADT there. I can tell you that everybody on the private tables ADT went up just because we
I
played
was
for
going to
8
tell you
hours.
that. I talked to Krista afterwards, and she said that she was happy to see that whatever the ADT is increased for me. But I only played at the Hard Rock. The only other place I played the entire weekend was the short stint we had at the Palace and the Four Rollers at Boomtown, and we know none of us had cards in Boomtown. So that's interesting.
Yeah, the other thing she said, just to kind of tie that in, if you were primarily a dice player, like I am, right? I don't play I don't play slots very often. If I do, it's just because everybody else is doing it, and I want to I want to fit in. But if you're primarily a dice player, she said, and you play slots, don't use your card. If you if you play slots at a certain level, it's okay to use your card. But for me, it affects my ADT.
Yep.
Because I don't play it at the level that G and Ed play it. So just so you know that if you are if you're there, especially I'm speaking for the Hard Rock, right? She definitely says that erodes your ADT if you're not playing to that level.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to play at high levels. I know I was taking you to the airport, and when you told me what they told you my ADT was, I almost ran off the road.
Question from Rock.
I didn't want to know it at that point.
Question from Rockful, not our Rock, but is the Hard Rock a different company from the Tampa Bay Hard Rock? Last time I visited, I needed a different player's card.
Yes, absolutely, it is. The Hard Rock in Biloxi is owned by the Bally's Corporation, or is everything but the cafe. The cafe's run through the Seminoles. So, but you can still comp yourself and all that kind of stuff in the same building. But yeah, it's a different one. And then we talked to her about it at some point. Oz, I can't remember if you were there or not when we talked about it, but there are several Bally's that, she was like, if y'all need to go to Bally's in Atlantic City, I can get you hooked up, but it doesn't help her any.
Right.
Because it's the same corporation. She said, I can get y'all set up there, but somebody up there is going to get the credits, blah, blah, blah. So it is a totally different privately or corporately owned casino by the Bally's Corporation that got the Bally's name from Caesars. And, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's a different deal. It has nothing to do with the Seminoles, period.
No.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Seminoles are Turks anyway.
And here's a sarcastic question from Dr. Ank. He says, does this make me the biggest degenerate of the weekend because he never left the private table for 8+ hours?
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
He is a total degenerate.
And he was the last one to leave, and but he was the only one that wore a diaper to the table too. I just want everybody to know that.
He didn't even go to the bathroom for 8 hours.
Right.
Well,
All right, here's a question from Max. He wanted to know, was there any video recorded at the private table for history, and how about in the future? The question of that is no video taken because it is the rules of the casino and probably the gaming commission, although we tried to persuade the host to encourage her higher-ups to let us do that. In Mississippi, it's part of the gaming commission that can't record, just like it is in Atlantic City. You got to go through hoops. I've tried Atlantic City, and it's permitted. You got to apply to the gaming commission. Before you apply to the gaming commission, you got to have approval of the casino. Before the casino will listen to you, got to have approval of the gaming commission. So it's really hard to record.
Almost, they didn't even like people taking pictures. They would, some of the pits would fuss at you, or the boxes would fuss at us if they saw people out with their cameras trying to snap a few pictures here and there.
Yep. Oh my! And stent places, thank God, there's no recording. Rick, you would have had some good rolls had we done that. Last question, last call for questions, guys. Do you have anything else for either one of us,
Yep.
specifically Ed?
Another 5 minutes.
Yep. So Ed, if you want to start wrapping things up, if that's what we're going to do, I'll be glad to go. It's up to you.
Well, I just want to thank again everybody that came in. It's overwhelming. It's extremely humbling for me to have people come in, just want to meet up, and the people that come to me and thank me and shake my hand and talk to me about, the things that they learned from the channel and this and that. So that is the most humbling and the most beckoning reason to ever do another one. Right there. I mean, I can't express how much it means to me. Is it a pain in the ass? It is absolutely a pain in the ass to do. And Oz over there, he can attest to that. But we have a great group of people who showed up, and it makes you want to do another one. It does do that. I promise you that.
Well, I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna say thank you to Ed for hosting the event for the third year in a row. I've been involved with all three, so I gotta put my hand out to you, Oz. Your connections with the casino for the private table, without a doubt. I played on several private tables, without a doubt. Through 2 consecutive years here, that I enjoyed the private table. 3 consecutive years, if you will. And the people I played with on the private table, the etiquette that's there, it makes it so easy, so nice to play. You don't have to worry about all the yahoos that don't know the game and how things are done. So Oz, my hats go off to you, Ed, for including Oz in on it. And there, G, my good friend that picked me up from the airport, my girlfriend that let me go for the entire weekend, and to everybody I met down there that reached out to me and even contributed to my channel for the Craps for the Cure. Anybody that gave me a donation that said, here, this is for your channel, it is going to go for the Craps for the Cure, and I did not gamble with that money. Ed knows the story about the people that came up to me. So thank you very much for that. And today being Veterans Day, please, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for providing the freedom for us to be able to do a show like this, a Brownwater Bash, and hopefully something in the future.
All right, G, what you got to say as you close out here?
To me, last year was overwhelming. This year was 3 times overwhelming. People know I don't do well in crowds. I don't mind YouTube chats and stuff like that, but in crowds, I'm out of my comfort zone. It was good. I went out of my way. I was friendly. I answered all questions. But whether it's me or Ed or anybody, there are certain times where, it's not appropriate to walk up and talk and ask questions. When somebody is at the craps table playing, trying to bet and stuff like that, even though people approached me, I was nice. I answered. Other people at the table said, "Dude, don't do that. Just concentrate on your game." Even had one in the stall when I was doing a 10-100. Came next to me, dropped one, and started asking me about dice sets. Just there are certain times where it's very appropriate, but other times just we just need a little break. I felt like I needed a little break, but I'm always here to answer questions. I'm available at any time, on my phone, on email, and stuff like that. But we're all human. Be conscious. Somebody has the dice in their hand throwing. Don't walk up and say, "Hey, I got a question about something." Just be mindful. That's all I want to say.
All right, Oz, your closing words.
All right. Listen, I mentioned a little bit earlier this craps community that we have, and is special. And I think, I've made friends I mean, from all parts of the country. It's really amazing. And I think the thing that I truly appreciate about it, and not just the people that Jeff and G and Ed, but everybody else that was at the Brownwater Bash, and everybody that I met, some people for the first time, people are genuine and they're real, and it gives you it just gives you the comfort to know. I mean, it's just a good feeling. It really is, and it's not that, goodness gracious, I'm getting close to where I'm gonna wrap up my whole working days and gonna be retiring before very long, and you live your whole life, working through, and you meet people and you have acquaintances and stuff like that. But what I can tell you is that this community has provided friendships that I never would have had outside of this community. That's just not the way I am, right? I'll have associates and acquaintances and stuff like that, and I truly appreciate it. I appreciate the way I was welcome, and appreciate the way that I get treated, and hopefully I do the same thing to everybody else.
Good words there, Oz. Appreciate all three of you guys and your friendship. You mean a lot to me. Um, and Ted is right there in the chat. I glanced over it. Today is the ending of Memorial Day, and as he puts it, it is for those who did not transition back home.
Right.
And so, and Oz, you should have probably talked earlier about your family members who gave their life for this country and for our freedom. And I honor them. And I know Lou out there, he's got family members who were killed
Absolutely.
in World War II. I saw the post. I didn't react. Memorial Day is always hard on me. This Memorial Day is easier on my family than it was last year. But when parents have children that go away, that's all you fear.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, their fears come to reality. And those fears are that their child is not coming home because they're buried overseas, or they're not coming home alive. And they didn't, as he said, transition home. They came home in a box, or they were buried overseas. I was very fortunate that my son always came home. He came home from all his deployments, and all of his unit, 100%, both times came home. All of them did not live that long after they came home. They dealt with issues that caused them to, like my son, come into accidents. So we thank all of the family, because that's who we can thank. We can thank the veterans, but they can't hear us. They're in another place. But for those family members who have dealt with the loss of someone overseas, my prayers are with you, and my thoughts are with you, and I appreciate beyond any way that I can really articulate what the veterans that have given their life to serve this nation under any administration and under all circumstances. The things that they have done to provide us with the life that we take for granted. And we do. We take it for granted. We think we're entitled to this life. We're not. This life was given to us by blood. And we should never, ever forget that.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what I'm going to do as we wrap it up. I know there's still some chats coming in before I close us out. I'm going to play our little wind out song, and then I'll end today's live, guys. Is that all right with y'all?
All right, with me.
All right, so we'll do the same song that we did at the intro. A lot of people missed it. It's kind of a wrap up song. I love the words because I had a lot to do with those. Here we go.
Yep.
Rolling down to Biloxi, where the river meets the coast. Dice in my hand, yeah, this town I love the most. Whiskey's flowing, folks are smiling, tales getting bold. At the brown water bash, the shooters roll gold. Raise your glass, let the good times last. Roll2Win's in town, we're having a blast. It's not just luck, it's a practiced art. Practice like you play, play like you practice from the heart. Craps tables calling, it's a southern drawl beat. Dice set tight, rhythm steady and sweet. Backlines watching, cheers fill the air. With every heartache, you feel the flare. Raise your glass, let the good times last. Roll2Win's in town, we're having a blast. It's not just luck, it's a practiced art. Practice like you play, play like you practice from the heart. From hard rock to palace lights, brown water spirits and long hot nights. Brotherhood strong, no need to rush. Just a paradise and a gambler's hush. Raise your glass, let the good times last. Roll2Win's in town, we're having a blast. It's not just luck, it's a practiced art. Practice like you play, play like you practice from the heart. Yeah, we roll in style with heart and class, down at the brown water bash.
Practice like you play, play like you practice, everybody. Go Roll2Win.